So let's talk about the issue of international students. Last 3 or 4 years, we have seen a lot of international students have come in, which have resulted in, in a bad quality of living for Canadians. The rents have gone up, the house prices have gone up a lot, but nobody talks about the other side of international students, why they were brought in, and and whether it was the right policy or not. Of course, it was a bad policy, everybody analyzes now, but let me show you Canadian government's website and show how flawed policy it is. So here is Government of Canada's website. It says international students contribute over 22.3 billion per year to Canadian economy, greater than exports of auto parts, lumber, or aircraft. So auto parts, lumber, or aircraft, these are some of the top, these are like some of the very good sectors which Canada has. And above these sectors, as business, is bringing in the international students. And this report was published in March 3, 2022. And if you think, if you see the number of international students that were brought in 2023 was around I think like close to maybe more, could be more than 500,000, right? And earlier they were around in the ratio 2 to 300K, right? So if you make international students as your business, and the very easy way to earn money is bringing in more students, right? That was the policy which the government had. The government had no policies for growing the small businesses. The government had no policy for growing in new sectors like AI, for growing in new sectors like EVs, for new sectors like robotics, new sectors like blockchain, supply chain, or others. They have definitely put in some focus on these, but not a complete focus, right? No innovation has been going on in Canada. Think about which unicorn, like which billion-dollar company have you seen in Canada in the last 10 years? None. Do you see, has there been any focus to bring in, to create one or two such companies in the next 10 years? I don't see there is any such focus at all. What are the talks? Like it's just housing, right? That has been the talks. And how do we earn money? It's by bringing in the international students, right? So these are the policies that have been adopted by the Canadian government. And Canadian government, especially the Liberal government, right? And if you think this is ethically flawed policy, uh, I immigrated to Canada like around 7 or 8 years ago. Uh, I applied for my immigration when Harper government was there. That time it was really difficult to apply and come as an immigrant, right? So I was living in US. I came to Canada to see how Canada is and to decide whether I want to move here or not. The decision was very clear. I went to any store. Everybody I saw, everybody was smiling that time, right? Everybody, each and every person you say, you just have a look, everybody smiled. And what I see now is like nobody even tries to see any other person's face. They're just busy, right? They're just busy, like working hard to pay for the groceries and all. They don't have any smile or any look at their face, right? It's just a neutral like face that everybody has. And that I've seen changed in like last 7 or 8 years. And let's talk about these policies for bringing in the international students, right? So this is ethically flawed. So now, if you think about if you're a parent in Canada, how difficult is it for you to pay the fees of your kids' college fees and all, right? So international students, they are charged like 3 to 4 times higher fee as compared to domestic students, right? Ultimately, they are brought in to compensate for the fees for the domestic students and all, right? To make the universities work. So this is the business, right? There is no long-term investment in international students and all. So, and the students that are brought in, they are not brought in from better countries, right? Who can afford like all of these high fees and all. They are brought in from the countries who are like 3 or 4 levels down, like maybe 5 levels down. So oftentimes the the yearly income would be of these students, like of the families of these students would be 1/50th the Canadian family's household income per year, right? So Canada has made like these families who are earning 1/50th time or 1/10th time as compared to Canada. So Canada has made them as the target for their business, right? So the international students, like what these parents thinks, because I'm also from India, I've seen like there is also high employment in certain parts of a country in India, right? And parents think that their students would settle down, right? So what they would do is they would sell their house, the primary home. If they have some land and all, they would sell their land, just thinking that the kids would have a better future. And they would send like their kids to Canada just to pursue their studies, selling everything they have, everything. And this money Canada shows as investment, or not investment, as business, right? So you can see how ethically flawed policies were there from the government in the last few years. This was the prime business they had made. There was no vetting in what type of kids is Canada bringing in, right? So think about, you have now let's think from the Canadian perspective, right? So suppose you have a Airbnb, right? So we have Canada, like a lot of cities and all, right? So think about your like suppose let's think about you have a primary residence, right? The primary residence has 50 rooms. So somebody, if they move to, or if they're traveling, like one of the rooms is empty all the time, right? Somebody might be traveling somewhere and all. They might be switching rooms from one to other and all. Now you see an opportunity that sometimes some of the rooms are empty, and you try to bring in like guests, and you make your primary home as and you list it on the Airbnb, and you bring in 10 people into your home. Now, whose fault it is? Is it the fault of the people who were living in Canada, right? And living in that primary home? Is it their fault? Is it the fault of the guest who has come in paying the full fee, right, of Airbnb, and thinking that they can stay for however long they want? And they have paid the full fee. Many times they have paid the fees to the agents also, and maybe twice the fee to the agent, right, just to be able to come to that primary home. Or is it the flaw of the person who has listed the home as Airbnb, right? Of course, this is the flaw of the government who has listed the home or Airbnb and who has made this as a business, right? So this is the government's flaw. So, and again, like there has been no vetting at all for the students. There has been no vetting for the colleges, right? What is checked is, can the students pay the fees or not, right? So if I have to implement a policy, what type of policy would I implement, right? It is very easy to implement these policies, not at all difficult, right? Maybe our government's GDP would reduce in Canada, could be like by 5%. That is fine, right? Let's be honest about it. Let's invest into small businesses and all. Let the GDP decrease, even if it's 5% or so, right? So you have to first see, like if you're bringing in the students, can you bring in the best students or not? Can you help them through their studies or not? Can you make sure that they stay in Canada and add to like Canadians' economy in long term or not, right? Which is none of the policies of Canada, right? All Canada has been checking is, can they pay the fees or not? Other thing which I'll see is, when they're paying in the fee, is the fee like maybe not more than 10 to 20% of their full income or not, right? Because you don't want the student to come in, spend all the money of the family they had, right, and then go back. And when they go back, they have nothing, right? Like suppose there are a lot of people I know who have come from India, like where parents have sold their houses, have sold everything they had, and also taken loans on top of it, and then they have sent their kids, right? So again, this have been like ethically like flawed policies, and I think these are criminal policies, right, against the government. Like so, like the leaders, we should put like criminal cases on these, right, because they have misused uh, people who are coming in from like lower economies. They have tried to earn money from them, right? When you earn money in this way, these are the type of impacts you see that we are seeing on Canadian people, right? So again, Canada is still like not in a very, very bad situation. It is about seeing the truth where we should be investing. We should be investing into small businesses. We should be investing into sectors that are growing. We should be investing into innovation. We should not be trying to make money from like from people from of lower economies, just as international students, right? And you can see it on like Canada's government website, that they treat this as a business. The government is treating this as a business, right? Again, share this so that We all can understand this is not the problem of citizens of Canada who live here, who have already been living it here. This has not been the flaw of international students who have sold everything, right? They have been brought into the country with wrong promises. They have sold everything they had. Their families have sold everything. This is the flaw of the government who has not vetted or checked anything at all, who just wanted to show the short-term impact, bring in that money, and showing that the GDP is growing and all, right? Who have not been honest either to international students or to domestic Canadian citizens. So please share it, that we show the real face of the government and we see that how flawed policies the government have, how exactly they're trying to make money. They were trying to make money from the international students rather than like bring in, like instead of bringing 500K students, bring in like 50K students, bring in like 25K students, right? Invest in them, pay pay their fees, bring in the best students, ensure that they will stay in Canada, they would create startups, they would develop small businesses and all, rather than bringing in students and making them a business. So again, like share this if you care. Thank you.